A Light Within Darkness, Chapter 6b, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. After knocking on the vault door with an odd series of clanging noise to get her attention, she then opened the door and giggled as she saw my stressed look because, for the last several minutes of going through the tunnel, I was terrified one of these traps were going to slam a spiked ball or something into me as I walked through. Not funny at all. Actually, how in the hell did you make so many traps while I was only gone for like half an hour? The Eldar proudly huffed and pretended to clean out some dirt from her already immaculate nails as she said. When an Eldar sets their mind to a task, little can stand in our way. Plus, setting up such simple traps was literally child's play. I gave her a bland look that clearly displayed how little I cared for her little prideful display. Right. So, how many of the nutrient cubes did you collect? Hehe, I made 40 of them. As I was collecting the 4 barrels I was going to need in order to collect all the water, I heard her words and whirled on her in surprise. You spent all the time making those damn traps, didn't you? You do recall we go through those things like one every hour for each of us while cultivating. I gave her a look of disappointment as I sighed. I sent this arrogant disciple on a quest, and she comes back with not even enough resources for a single day's worth of training. Ellesmere's face twitched, and he was then reminded how I, in the same amount of time, brought more than 100 cubes of the biomass that we had been using up until we ran out today. Fine. I will go get more. I just hate fighting massive insects. Isn't that the definition of a man's task anyway? She demanded, putting her hands on her hips. I gave her another look of disappointment as I sighed and put upon a wizened tone that I had learnt really irritated Ellesmere for sounding patronizing. As a warrior and even more so as a cultivator, you must understand that there is no difference in treatment for men or women. If a woman can cut you down with a sword from a mile away, what difference does it matter if a man can do the exact same? I clapped my hands as Ellesmere's face twitched in irritation. Thus, with men and women being equal, women have the same ability and responsibility to kill massive, mutated spiders that want to possibly lay eggs within our paralyzed bodies for their tens of thousands of newborn children to eat their way out of once they are born. Needless to say, I got kicked in the shin for that bit of nightmare fuel. So why do you need so many more credits? Ellesmere asked as she helped make the cart. I was going to pull all the water barrels back with me. I had been considering how she was getting close to mastering the diamond body technique on what technique I should give her to her, and eventually I came to the realization that she should go the same path as me, furthering her body cultivation, but instead of my 9 young stars technique, I knew of a technique that was practically a counterpart to the technique for women called the solitary Een moon technique. It built a singular Een attributed moon within the body that would eventually be able to give her a special Een body when she converted the powerful moon within herself into a weird frozen white dwarf star. I need to buy a chunk of a star held in stasis in order for me to get into my next technique. In order to do that, I need to gather up and purify about 400 gallons of water, as this hive city only has one main working water purification plant, and of the other 3, only the spider domain over there is working at a lowered capacity, while the other 2 have been stripped for parts and don't work at all. I said, pointing in the direction of the spider domain in question. Ellesmere shook her head, obviously in wonder at humanity's stupidity, and her words confirmed my suspicions of her thoughts. Why don't the humans simply fix the other 2 stations and simply block off the spider domain and purge it with chemicals and a lot of fire? Oh, that's a good question, honestly, and I didn't know the exact reasons, but I had a couple of suspicions. Well, for one, those pumps reach the sump below this underhive, and as bad as the underhive is with that spider domain, the sump is far worse, as it's so hostile to life with its filth and mutants that it can literally host some weak demons with how violent and disease-ridden it is. Being that Norn and Nurgle demons can call it home. Hence why it was obvious why normal people couldn't go simply fix any pumps down in the sump, as they would almost certainly die before they even reached the pumps. And the Hive City governor wouldn't want to waste trained Imperial guardsmen on such a task until it began to threaten the upper hive's livelihood. You seriously plan on just eating a chunk of a star? She asked dryly as we navigated her traps towards the spider domain. With her leading us past our vault, she had actually armed the traps going in that direction. Of course. Hell, for your next technique, you are going to eat a chunk of a moon. I said cheerfully, making the normally so agile Eldar literally stumble before she whirled on me in confusion at how serious I sounded. Jake. Not to be the bearer of bad news, but Eldar can't eat rocks, she said dryly. I simply patted her on her perky backside, making her jump as I passed her, leaving her frozen form with an inspirational quote to ponder as I began throwing the barrels into the cistern below to fill up with water. As a cultivator, the only thing stopping you from cutting a planet in half with your sword is your laziness. If you can't absorb a single piece of a moon into your body, then you certainly need more training.